Don't have to send it around here, by the way. Yeah.
We might.
Just jinxed us to 2 hours.
Wasn't my fault.
She did the jinxing.
So we're live on YouTube, so everybody knows. You know what I mean?
We are live already?
We're live.
That was worth it.
So far, we got one viewer, don't know who it is, but welcome, whoever you are.
Talking. Here.
The sun's back out.
I was watching Channel 12
No,
News.
no.
I was watching Channel 12 News and they were showing that exactly hit it, boom, gone, boom, gone.
Oh, look at that.
What's my shoes? Just because I'm here doesn't mean you gotta put my services to work, okay?
Well, I want to see just how good you are.
I am that good.
I've had a few concussions in my day, so who knows where it's going to go from there.
Anybody's Dave Blue in the morning?
What time are they on?
Is that before noon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trustees.
We're
It's
on-
really her.
we're on YouTube.
Hi,
Laura.
It's so
Be a real one.
What time?
Oh,
That cold.
it's
Hey,
Yeah, it's a little slippery.
You sliding? Have you got anything for us? You come to talk?
Unfortunately, yes.
We'll find out.
Just not here, so we don't see him.
What about Nate, is joining us yet? No, nope, so far no Nate. Nate will be joining us via the computer.
Yeah.
You should be able to hear us talk.
The only thing he just doesn't like us.
No, he said he has a cold.
Stay away.
Yeah. so I told him.
Oh, okay, because I was there this morning, they had them, so good.
Oh, there's Nate. Hi, Nate. Welcome. Nate's with us now. Nate, can you hear everything? Yeah, we should be able to hear him. Nate, can you hear us?
I've never heard a lawyer be so quiet.
Maybe he can. Nate, can you hear us? Nate, can you hear us?
This will make for a shorter meeting if there's no lawyer involved.
Can you hear us? Nate, you can't see us because I can't use the same webcam voice or something.
No worries. It was just like a conference call for me.
Yeah. All right. So I think should we call the meeting to order? Oh, I do have that. All right, let's do a pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so back to normal here. First item on the agenda, as usual, public comment.
Kevin Miller, I would just like to address the board about the pilot for the project on Spencer and Temple. I understand that the town has basically tabled that issue, probably deferring to the village to decide so that the town does not have to decide. I just wanted to go over some of the reasons I was concerned, mostly about being in a 100-year floodplain. I might risk repeating some of the stuff I said last time, and I'll mail you the same thing I mailed last time because the situation is still the same. It's been a 100-year floodplain, and they're planning on putting low-income and elderly people in there, and they're going to be the most vulnerable population with the least resilience to recover from the flood. And every plan that the county has paid for over the course of the past 8 years has basically said you don't put low-income housing in the floodplain, which shouldn't be a complicated thing to explain to somebody that's been through a flood and had a lot of trouble getting out of it. The two county hazard mitigation plans, which one was done right after the flood of 11, and one was done about probably 3 years ago, but it just got approved recently because it takes a long process to get approved. It goes to New York State, they make sure it's fine, goes to FEMA, and then it comes back. So it was approved within the last, I would say, 9 months. And both of those plans cost the county around $60,000 each. Had a lot of people from municipalities and business and local organizations on them, spent a lot of time doing them. And with this project, the county is basically ignoring all that sound common sense advice, which I don't understand why they're doing it. I would encourage the village board to turn down a pilot for that project because it's not in a sensible location, as explained by the county hazard mitigation plan.
So I just want to add the point that, current building code is BFE +2. And BFE +2 would, if we get the flood that we had 10 years ago, puts that building underwater. And, as we all know, that a foot of water in your house can do a lot of damage. And I'm very concerned about that for the people who would have to suffer the loss of all of the contents of whatever units are on that floor if they build to BFE +2, which is code. I mean, it would be good to see plans, and I'm sure you guys are looking forward to being able to evaluate and advocate for people. And again, if this project goes forward, there's really a risk, unless it's evaluated and it's determined that there isn't one, that you're gonna increase the flood proneness of the neighbors, and that's not fair. It's just not fair. We're flood prone enough. So,
I'd just like to say a couple of other things. One is that there are already 3 high-density apartment buildings or complexes in the village. One more going up on Owego Gardens. There's Owego Gardens. There's 2 on Dean Street. There's one in apartments. And the more facilities like that come up, the more ambulance calls stressing an already stretched out EMT systems. I know somebody from the fire department can speak to that if they wish, but I know there's a lot of them. The other thing I wanted to address is Mr. Kelsey's thinking that people aren't getting jobs here because they can't get housing. I guess I would ask him and the county planning office, how many people on Dean Street have jobs or want jobs? How many people in Owego Gardens 1 and 2 have jobs or want jobs? So I like Mr. Kelsey a lot. I respect him a lot, but I think his thinking on this issue is askew.
All right. Anything else?
I guess just one other quick comment is that people need to consider that flood maps are inherently backward looking because they're only based on the past. And we know that there isn't a linear line between the past and the future because of what we see happening to the climate. So it's very shaky ground to think that building for the past is gonna protect you in the future. Because it's not, you've got it over the
I hate to keep talking. But I just want to mention that the county planner has said that the floodplain of 500 years should be considered the new 100-year floodplain. And if that's the case, which I think is probably accurate, this makes even less sense.
It's probably true.
Please close the.
Anybody else, public comment?
The only question I have is, did the board consider paying the secretary for the zoning board and the planning board? And we talked about getting a secretary for them because
We
there's
have,
no way Christina and I have time to write up minutes the way Meg wants to. I mean, they're written up as a legal lawyer. I mean, I, number one, can't write that way. Number two, I don't have time to write that way. I mean, I can write up a single minutes of the meeting, but that's, as soon as I give it to Meg, she doesn't listen to it.
okay.
So we either gotta figure out a secretary who knows how to write that way, or maybe Nate, something, but, I know the county pays the county secretary $50 a meeting,
Okay,
and if you figure that out, there's 2 meetings, if we do 2 meetings in a month,
right.
that's $100 a month, $1,200 a month year. I think that would definitely be the benefit of the village
Okay.
to do.
For input on that, the OHPC pays, the person who does it, it's, $40 or $50 for the time, to do the NODs and the meeting minutes, which are, they look like the legal documents and stuff. I've done it in the past, and if you are a board member, you can get paid, or like a commissioner, you can get paid, so you could do it and get paid. Or like hire somebody to come in and get paid, and you just submit the voucher with your dates, and then the village sends you the check. So I can do it if you, but they, unless that last meeting was recorded.
I mean, I got the notes of the last meeting, but when I wrote them up and gave it to Meg, I was told this doesn't work. And then, of course, the county approached me in my office and said, well, this is what it should look like, here's a template, and I was like, I ain't got time to write 3 page meeting minutes in legal jargon.
It's hard enough to get people on those codes.
Yeah, no, we need people on the boards to start with, so.
So, I mean, like I said, it was obviously just looking for somebody to be able to write it up.
Okay,
That's all.
so we'll have to figure that out. Ooh. Laura will do it. I mean, you're asking
Can I
me
get paid
anyway,
for
right?
it as a board member?
I think so.
I was gonna say, that was the only question I
Don't see that
had,
now.
it'll put the conflict of interest or the
I know I could do, I was able to do it as a commissioner when I was on OHPC.
Let's see, Nate, you alive?
Yeah, he used to.
Did you hear that? What's that?
I wasn't able to make out like 3/4 of that. I heard something, zoning board meetings, OHBC meetings, and meetings that we need to attend, which is 15 minutes.
Yeah, so Jeff Van Wagen's here from the zoning board, and he is requesting that we pay a secretary to take the minutes for the meetings because of the requirements. So Laura has volunteered, but we don't know if we can pay her like $50 a meeting, being that she's a trustee.
I'll have to look at that specifically.
Okay.
I think in the near term, if Laura is willing to volunteer to just do it without compensation for the next meeting, then let's just do figure the specific answer how she can be compensated.
We haven't made those decisions yet, of course.
Okay, I don't know when the next meetings are, it may not be for a while.
I'm not aware of them.
I mean, they're as needed, so it's not like you have a meeting every month. but-
Right. That's fine.
Would you research that?
Yeah, Nate's gonna research that, find out if we can get paid to do it. Because you're at them anyway, for us, so.
I have some better minutes though.
We'll take some action.
All right. So we'll investigate that to see if we can get paid, but if not, we should pay somebody.
Find somebody.
If Laura can't, do you know anybody who may be interested?
I haven't specifically talked to anybody, but
I mean, I would just recommend putting feelers out just in case this falls.
yeah, I mean, I can start doing that.
If it was somebody not on the board, so would you have to pay them for the time to attend the meeting?
Well, it would be easier, but then it should be.
Yeah, that would be cleaner
It
if
would be
it was,
just attend the meeting and vote.
it'd be cleaner if it wasn't one of us who's already getting paid, I guess, but.
Yeah. So technically, we have 24 to 48 hours after the meeting to get the minutes in and submitted to the office, because people building permits and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's kind of where, that's one of the angles, is that we're not getting them in time, because it's taking too long to write them the way they need to be, because we don't know how to write them that way. And second of all, not knowing how to write them is
Well, yeah,
not a benefit to the building at all.
I agree. Yeah, so we'll find a solution to that problem. All right, anything else public comment on this? All right, close that. Next is department head reports. Start with Robin.
Right, for last month, we had 155 calls. Good news, the empty classes are back in there, the county, the gray. So people don't have to drive all the way over to Brewer County now. Also, I received a letter of resignation from Linda Van Duzen, which I passed on to Linda, obviously. I should be getting a list soon. They were still waiting for a couple of return calls. Also, I would like to ask to have a couple of per diem on hand, so that if somebody calls in, that we have a definite coverage during the day instead of, we used to have a paid per diem that we could call in when needed. And we've gone several years without it, but the people that were covering for that, the daytime person, there's not as many of us ALS people to fill that void right now that can leave their jobs or whatever. So, especially during the summer, it's tough because we have a couple of our ALS and our paramedic that's out of area during the summer. So, I was gonna ask the village if we could possibly add that to the spectrum, as well as when it comes time to make the decision for the replacement for Linda. I've talked to Mike about it, that I would like to have Sonia involved in that as well, seeing how that's the person that she's gonna have to be working side by side with. And as we know, if you get along with everybody, things go so much smoother, and we've been very blessed that everybody's gotten along. And also, the plan is for this weekend, for the new ambulance to be delivered. I'm gonna verify that again tomorrow. Their holdup is getting a New York State inspection for that.
Okay.
Because of, it's coming from Jersey. So getting a New York inspection, it's hard to get someplace that can put it on a lift and do all the things that I need.
When this weekend?
Huh?
When this weekend?
I'm not positive that was our goal.
Okay.
I was told the first, the check was, or no.
Check is here.
Check is done, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just gonna have to get them a check.
Yes, I emailed it to Mike, so he can send it on.
Okay, so Cindy
She
says,
said to me, we'll cut a check in. May I ask a question? Sven?
Yeah.
So it gets here this weekend or whenever it gets here, you know, many times it takes, this and that to be ready. How long do you think it would take to be ready with whatever things we have to do?
Again, gentleman from the state, needed time to be able to set up the time to come in and inspect it. But the fact that we don't have a definite date, it would usually only take a few days for him to come down and take care of that. And that gives some time also for the village to get it licensed and all that stuff.
Is it painted yet?
Oh, yeah.
It's
I don't know.
It's done.
Okay.
It's just a matter of the next step of getting the inspection and getting it here.
we have to register it, right?
Yep,
With the DMV
Yep.
and get it blessed off by the
yes.
state health department or whatever.
We're not sniffing weeks and weeks and weeks. We're sniffing pretty quick once it's.
We're still, yeah, because right now we already have taken your loaner back and had that little old piece of garbage back on that came with it.
Yeah.
So, and it's been out of service for actually at least 3 weeks because of issues it had, and I didn't think it would best to go through the grief of trying to get it down, get it fixed, and all that nonsense. So number one, we haven't had to use it, you know, that thing. Oh, well, 6 times since we've had it. And there's been major issues with it since we've had it. And none of which obviously we paid for it because I threw it back on them because we haven't used it enough to push that on. The other thing I wanted to inquire as to is to have considered as a race for Sonia. I've done checking in different agencies. I understand that the insurance here covers the family, not just the individual. But I would like to make it so that she's encouraged to remain here. At this point in time, I feel she's under salary an hour from the comparable prices that I've seen in other districts.
Okay.
And I was thinking that maybe $1.50 is what I was thinking.
Okay.
That's good. My quick thought on that would be, we should, as we're doing this whole thing about getting somebody new and et cetera, we should do this all together, figure out how much we want to pay the new person, how much we want to pay Sonia and all that. So I'm just saying, I'm kind of putting you off on the raise right this second.
Understood, but I'm
But
just bringing it forward.
yeah, absolutely. But I think that we'll consider all that kind of in a package.
That's kind of why I threw that shit in.
Good thing. Last question about the one. It's back down there. It's gone. It's
The loaner?
the owner's.
No, they enjoy driving it back.
It's here, but they're going to take it away.
Yeah.
They're gonna swap us, huh?
Well, yeah, there was quite a few things.
All right. Thank you. Jimmy?
So we had 20 calls for the month of June. We'll get the fire, one large brush fire, 678s. The rest were just alarms and stuff like that. Average group time was 2 minutes and 33 seconds for the month. Average on scene time, 5 minutes. Fire department golf tournament is set again for September 11th. Going into play. We gave our $1,000 scholarship out to graduating senior at OFA last month. That's, and then rescue is out of service for spring.
Convention this weekend.
Mentioned.
Coming together.
That's why I asked about when the ambulance was coming. It's probably gonna be crazy in a week ago.
Hey, it is what it is.
Rusty?
Update on the trucks that didn't pass inspection.
804 didn't pass because of the light being broken. We got delayed on work. So we just had to look at that for all the ones.
They go one still has the.
Yeah, I
Number.
checked today for AFG. They are starting to release them. But, nothing.
Okay.
So
I heard from Racy, he's
I
got
got something.
something you said you were gonna talk about?
Yeah, he just wanted me to remind people that the bid opening for the Green Street pump station is tomorrow at 2 at the office. So hopefully we can get that big of a speed bump out of the way pretty soon.
Which
Nice.
office?
The clerk's office.
It's more like a jump. Especially at night when you forget about it. Did you hear from Jeff at all?
Oh, right after the demo that came through. He's gotten the, repairs to the water line leak that was in Marvin Park. Got that, repaired, installed, 2 new charcoal steel grills in Marvin Park. So we have the fence out there. Repairs to the baby pool. Installed, slow children at play sign in Armstrong. That's much needed for safety for kids. Yeah, the chlorine to the pool, we painted lines on the Little League field. Installed 15 reserved handicap parking signs at the Little League. So that grandparents, anybody else that's handicapped can extend those games. Repairs to the pool, chlorine pump, hot patch black top at 290 Prospect Street. Clean drains in Hyde Park. Repairs to cemetery and John Deere mower. Pick up garbage on Page Street. No parking signs on Front Street. Pool inspection with the Tioga County Health Department. So if you get that open, as you see it is. Cemetery and parks mowed, chipped tree branches and brush. Forever green property maintenance ongoing. Measure DSM wide cutouts ongoing. Repair for DPW equipment. Pothole patching ongoing. Cleaning drains and planning and zoning meetings are scheduled, and OHPC meetings are also scheduled.
One thing on the agenda was the Court Street Bridge kiosk. I put that on the agenda just so we don't forget about it. I know we had a bid, and he was gonna get another bid, or letters if people wouldn't bid on it, so we can get that thing fixed.
How's their insurance covering that?
Their car insurance should cover it. I don't think we've gotten anything yet.
They were fussing about that. They didn't
Yeah.
want to cover it. I don't know how that's going to play with the guy that hit it and them and us and stuff.
I know the one estimate we got was like around $10,000, so.
For an accident, that's pretty cheap.
Okay, cost us more than that to tear it down. Every time I drive past it and see the caution tape, I think about it though.
I saw.
You got anything?
I need a copy of the tax book. Somebody's filed.
Of the tax warrant,
Yeah.
you lost it? I do not have it.
They don't have that.
It's just, it's a, amount to be raised by taxes, it would be $275,000 for the liquid sewers. And it shows the tax rate. And I have, the mayor's gonna sign it. Give me 5 minutes, I will.
Okay,
We'll do that towards you.
take a break at the end of it. Keep looking.
Yep. I think 10 copies.
Oh, so there's somewhere. Probably on a copy. There. So do we have anything from the police chief? Joe, everything?
We don't, Rodney knows there's some money's coming in for the Durango dog car, and we're going to bump the budget, but they're not in our hand yet, so we're not doing that yet.
I saw they did a press release today. Our friend Maggie got over $30,000 worth of meth off the street in the last month, so she's doing good.
So that's working well. Asset forfeiture, state and federal, could we'll see.
They bumped that to federal, didn't they?
What's that?
Isn't that a federal charge now?
I don't think, they let the people back out, so. Or find bail on us, or whatever. But at least, you know, we got the drugs.
Nothing else in the chief right now.
Maggie's working on good. Sniffing around town. Next thing on the agenda is motion to set a public hearing for borrowing money for a new fire truck. So that's the resolution, the borrowing resolution that Nate prepared for us. Kind of on the agenda like we already approved it, but yeah.
Mayor, excellent.
Yeah,
You don't publish to authorize the resolution. It's just subject to mandatory permissive referendum.
okay,
If you authorize bonding for a period longer than 5 years.
okay. So, no,
We don't have,
really, we can just scratch that item and go to resolution to go out for bids for $350,000 loan for a new fire truck. Basically, the borrowing resolution.
And even that, it's not a motion to authorize it to go out to bids. It's just a motion to authorize bonding
Right.
$350,000 for a new fire truck.
Mr. Mayor?
Rusty?
Whoever the fire chief will author bids for that, authorizing it.
Right, which we already kind of bid the banks.
So we had thought about approving a resolution to go out to get the bonding. Do we have to have a public hearing before we do that?
If we approve the resolution, then it's subject to permissive referendum.
I got that part, but so this part here about having a public hearing is not required. Is that right, Nate? Is there a?
It's only required for using capital reserve.
So that's not what we're doing at this moment,
Not at this moment, but our plan is to pay
to use.
part of that out of a reserve fund.
So, but this is the one
If you're proposed to pay part of it out of a reserve fund, then you will need to schedule a public hearing for use of Cindy's got me all confused with your agenda. Your motion to authorize use of the reserve fund is also subject to permissive referendum. So, I did not know you were planning to use part of your reserve fund. I think that must have been decided under the last week. I sent the draft, resolution for bonding last Tuesday or Monday, I think.
Yeah, so
I know the dollar amount hasn't been kind of figured out yet.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Rusty?
So my hearing of this is that we have two things we have to do if we want to move along. If we were to approve a resolution today, we would start today, or however this works, if it has to be published first, our 30-day permissive referendum. The other piece, to use the reserve, we will have to set a public hearing, and then we'll start our 30 days from the day we set that public hearing and follow through on that.
Is that right, Nate?
Did you understand that, Nate?
The type reserve is subject to permissive referendum. I don't recall it being subject to a public hearing. Your repair reserve is subject to a public hearing. And so, regardless of if you don't know the specific breakdown of reserve versus bonding, we need to know that in order to put the resolution finalized.
So we're thinking about bonding for $350,000 and then using the reserve for the remaining balance of the truck. The actual truck is 518.
518,
In that scenario, we would use around 170 from our reserve and 350 of bonding, if that's the.
520,000 total.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
So that is the all-in maximum cost.
Yeah,
Okay.
So Nate, can you hear me? If we do all that, do we then have to have a public hearing? And then our 30 days potential referendum starts from that?
If you want to have a public hearing, you can always have a public hearing. My recollection of this, as we're talking, I can, but my understanding of it is that when you use a reserve fund for capital purchase, it's subject to permissive referendum. It doesn't require a public hearing. And so if tonight you authorize bonding and use of a capital reserve fund to purchase a fire truck, you're an amount not to exceed $120,000 with a split of $350,000 bonding and $170,000 use of capital reserve, subject to permissive referendum. That would be sufficient to then, within the next 10 days, Rod to publish the permissive referendum notice. And the 30-day period would be triggered from today.
From today or from the date of the publish?
From today.
Okay.
Rod has to publish the notice within 10 days. As long as he does that, the 30 days runs from today.
Okay.
It won't be published until next month.
it's within 10 days, right?
It's Tuesday. I'm gonna have them-
Right.
So I'm crossing off that public hearing stuff because we don't have to do that.
No, so if you pass that resolution, then the permissive referendum clock starts
Today.
Today.
Mr. Mayor, I need Jimmy to tell us, he's told me, but I need him to tell us what he found out from the company about our buying this and what we have to do and to get the particular truck and to get it at a particular price.
So to keep the same rate, he asked that we would write a commitment letter. By this week. The same rate, otherwise you're looking probably 6 to 8% increase.
So,
He's willing to keep the original price point. The company is, if we send it.
I guess could the commitment letter be contingent on
Yes.
the permissive referendum?
Fails, then the letter means.
Morris?
So the decision, one of the decisions, if we're going to make one this evening about this is, are we prepared to buy a fire truck? Are we prepared to buy this fire truck? Are we prepared to buy it or set it in motion tonight? If we put the commitment letter in, the resolution to bond and to do it isn't final, doesn't still make us have to do it. But if we put a letter of commitment, does that make us obligated to do it? We need to understand that.
So to your question.
Yeah.
The bond resolution, the capital reserve does not bind you to buy that truck. But if the commitment letter is authorized, then it would need to be contingent on the permissive referendum period expiring.
We understand that piece. That other piece, I'm just trying to make sure we understand it's clear. If we do all this and we make the commitment letter, have we made that final decision right now? Do we have that 30 days and somehow we have the ability to back out of it? I'm just asking how that all works.
Yeah, the only reason you could back out if you otherwise authorized everything that we've talked about tonight is if the permissive referendum period, somebody files a petition, pushes it to a vote, and the public votes it down. That's the only way to back out.
So the reason I'm saying all this is I want the board members to understand if we do X, Y, and Z tonight, if we authorize the commitment letter, if we authorize the resolution for bonding, if we authorize the monies to come out of the capital reserve, we're all in. We don't have 30 more days to think or change our minds or whatever. They got to understand. That's what I'm trying to make clear. And make that clear for me also. And there's also potential numbers, which my mind was, doesn't matter, I'm just telling you what I was thinking. My mind was, and none of these numbers do we love, but my mind was thinking 200 out of the reserve, 320 to borrow. Rodney suggested we borrow take less out and borrow more. I'm just telling you what was crossing my mind on some of that. Is it 200 and 320? Is it 170 and 350?
Right now you have 207,000.
207. 207. We were under the impression it was 237. That may not be correct.
Yeah. This year's money's coming up.
This year's contract money's not in there yet?
And then in August, you'll get another.
Okay. All right. So, Village Board, what are we gonna do? We gonna buy a fire truck?
Did we get any response back from the bank yet as far as rates or anything?
No, we had to close them the other day on the ambulance.
We asked,
We asked them to give us something by Monday, but
They didn't get it.
we don't have anything really concrete to give them yet, so we kind of did the same thing we have. We went out way too early. When you deal with the bank, they want to set date and time and money. I told them I'd get back to them, but they were very anxious, they're even going to the firemen's show in Syracuse to meet with other people, they're doing it well, and all this other business. So they're interested in working.
yeah, she was very excited.
So what was the final interest rate on the ambulance?
1.6.
That was an excellent rate. At some place here, I have all the amounts.
You did say possibly Sunday, by the way.
And the other thing about we're looking at, we can't do 5 years, because we really don't have money to cover 5 years.
Right.
We're gonna stretch out over 10 years, and Rusty can write some figures, and the contract money that you get will cover the cost of the ambulance. Won't be additional.
That's the fire.
It'll be like, it's less than 40,000.
Yeah, I don't have it. I'm sorry, I don't have it exactly for you right this second. And I said we did a thing at 350. We did a thing at 320. We did it at 1.6 at 2%. We did it on a whole bunch of things, and it would be anywhere from 35 going towards 40,000 in a 10-year note. There was also one of the banks, for some reason, was interested in us doing it for 7 years, whatever reason they have for that, and the way they do their interest rates. We were looking at that, we were thinking that at 320, that might come out to $47,000 a year. At 350, it might come out to about $49,000 a year, something like that, which is certainly more than the contract money, and et cetera, et cetera. So unless there's a heck of a reason to do 7 years for a heck of a deal, 10 years seemed to be the number that made sense. That's what the committee was sniffing at.
So what are we gonna do?
What a fire truck.
Somebody has to make a motion to.
So I'm gonna do that. But we also have to get the numbers in this motion.
Right.
So, the resolution, purchase a fire truck at a maximum cost.
This is the purchase price of the fire truck would be $520,000.
So just so people have this in front of
Fire
them.
truck is $518,784.
So what do we want to put at maximum cost, which doesn't mean it has to be that cost, but once again, we don't want to put 520 and have it be 521. I mean, if we have to put something, we want to put it, even though we're not planning to spend it. What's the number we want to put for maximum?
We have a lot of back out something.
I'm sorry, say again?
If you knock out the light bars and knock out 20,000, we need some light bars.
But that gets us, that's still 518.
518,
So if we put 520, you think that will cover us and we will be okay? Will we have a problem with this resolution if it's 10 cents off?
Do they have like delivery fees or anything, or is this the whole kit and caboodle?
Nate, are you hearing this?
Here are bits and pieces.
Okay, so we've got the resolution that you drew up for us, and we're trying to put the maximum cost in. So if we put we think the fire truck's gonna be around $518,000. If we put a maximum cost in around 520, and turns out to be some little glitch, did we mess up by not having the maximum cost be bigger?
If the actual cost is higher than what's authorized, yes, that would be a glitch and you need to redo it. So err on the side of high.
They're on the high side. So that 8%, if the price gets jacked up, is like $42,000.
Which we don't wanna do.
I don't want to do
So, company.
This is from that company?
it. Yeah.
All right, so let's put $550,000 in there?
So we're a lot of
It says maximum, so we don't have to do it, is that correct?
Right.
Let's put something in that's,
Maximum cost not to exceed.
yeah. I'm just picking a number that's more than that number that we might live with depending on.
That way if it's,
Then the next number is a maximum amount of bonds. So that's the maximum loan that we can take out.
that is, and then what we're gonna take out of the reserve.
Well, that's the maximum amount, so we could say 350.
Right.
And then we could always take more out of reserve.
We can take more out of reserve, we can try to find some, I'm just saying, we can try to find some other places, we have some other ways.
So we can always take less, we just can't take more.
Right.
So maximum of 350 in bonds? Is the board liking these numbers? Stating that the maximum maturity of the bonds shall not exceed.
This is a maximum amount.
So, real quick, for the maximum maturity of the bonds, the only reason you would need to state that is if you are limiting it to 5 years. If you're planning to bond for longer than 5 years, which I think is what everyone, at least what I've heard,
Yes,
Yeah.
you don't need to say specifically the maximum maturity.
And we don't need to fill a number in there?
Correct, yeah. As long as you're planning to bond for longer than 5 years.
Yeah, there's no way we can pay it off in 5 years.
okay, so we don't have to pick a number there, so that's good. What's the next number down? Section 1,
So, because we're using a capital reserve, which I had it, when I put the bond resolution forward, you need to state specifically the maximum amount we're using in the capital reserve.
Okay.
20.
We don't wanna go any higher.
So to get to the 550, if you're only planning on utilizing 350 from bonding, that's 200,000 in the capital reserve.
That's
Is that right?
That's the maximum that we're going to use.
I wrote that down.
So Nate, will this resolution have that language in it about the capital reserve and using a maximum amount in the capital reserve?
Yeah, I will add that into the formal written
Okay,
motion for bonding.
So that number is 200,000, right?
Says section 1.
it'd be a new section.
I don't know what's.
It'll go the bold-faced all caps that go down.
So it goes in the top part.
And then in section 2, it'll talk about the plan of financing. Will be the issuance of $350,000 bonds and the use of the fire capital reserve in an amount not to exceed $200,000.
Okay.
Okay, so that'll get written that way.
I don't think we need any more numbers here, because that first number was the 550,000. That's section 1.
So Nate, you're gonna make this, you're gonna make,
Section 2 is gonna get reworded to say what Nate just said, 350,000 in bonds and 200,000 out of the capital reserve.
got all that, Nate?
Yep. I think
And
so.
then the rest of it, section 3 through 9 are the same?
Yeah, but then I'll add a section 10
Okay,
that says this resolution is subject to permissive referendum.
Okay.
so I'm going to move that, resolution as we've stated and changed it.
Okay.
Next second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this? Should we vote? Seems too easy. Charles?
Yeah.
Yes.
Should spend that much.
Yes.
Rusty?
Yes,
Laura?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
And yes.
so we now need to decide about a letter of commitment to the company.
Right.
Nate, tell us about that.
So, be contingent on the passage of the permissive referendum period or authorization of the voters at the election. So it won't be final until at least, well, until 30 days from now, if everything goes smooth. If it goes to a public vote, you can't submit a purchase order until whatever the vote occurs.
Right.
So any motion tonight has to be contingent
Yep.
on those events.
But once again, we believe that the company requires that, or else they're not going to hold that price and hold that truck. So I'm going to make a motion that we send what's the name of the company, Jim? Is it Freightliner?
No.
No, Campbell's.
Campbell's.
Representing Spartan Fire.
So Campbell representing Spartan Fire, is that what we're doing? So the motion is going to be that we send a letter of commitment to Campbell, blah, 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 representing Spartan Fire to purchase said fire truck
Subject to.
at that $518,000 price, subject to our permissive referendum. Is that enough of the motion in the letter? And the mayor and Nate will figure out
Yeah, we'll
the
figure out
the letter.
wording.
To be contingent to all the bonds being approved and the permissive referendum funding and everything for the time for the permissive referendum to go past for the.
The only contingency is the permissive referendum.
Well, and the bank actually giving us more.
Well, yes, obviously, the bank has to give us some money.
I wonder if you get the wording right for that motion. Second.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, any discussion on that? Vote. Charles?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
And Fran?
Yes.
And yes.
James,
That was easy.
no, you can't have a ladder truck. Get out of here.
Yeah. Spent nothing.
Just hope AMG comes through with this.
For the other, for 801. So do you think we have everything now that's needed for this? Okay.
All right, let's see, the next thing is the tax one. Did you find anything yet? We'll do the minutes. Minutes of 6/21/2021.
Let me bring them up real quick.
Take a look.
We have 621 and 628. 628 was just the budget, passing the budget.
Budget and those other resolutions.
Laura said that she did go to your office today and
I-
turned in the things that she wanted
I
to change.
emailed with Kim and she sent back, she sent me the corrected ones, so
Okay.
those are all ready to be online.
Okay.
Because they were already approved. I just need to find them,
You approve them?
yeah,
Subject to
I
those,
think we.
subject to those changes?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody have them on the table?
We did not approve. I always have them, but I didn't. I always have them.
Yeah, the office is starting stuff out for us.
You're good at computer?
Then I've got to print out. I use my own paper and my own ink.
You read?
I'm tickled at all these devices. I'm
You get the minutes, just,
doing this right now.
you get the minutes.
I don't remember getting.
So you-
I get it.
We also have a lapse in computers too. The rest of the trustees deserve to print out, just like the rest of us.
I don't have any especially interested.
And boxes.
It's good exercise for you.
You use my paper and mine.
But the computer, you box it, box.
It's very possible.
Yeah. I didn't see any issues. When I read them, but I
Yeah, I
didn't
didn't.
keep them because I didn't see any issues.
Well,
Do we want to approve those minutes right now or not?
I don't see them even.
Let's approve them next time.
that's good.
628 too, did anybody get those?
I don't see either of them.
Next
on
time.
my-
Okay.
Moving on.
Payment of bills, everybody get the payment of bills?
Yeah.
Any
Unfortunately.
issues? No issues? Well, that's okay to me. Should we make a motion to approve the payment of bills?
Make a motion to.
If we have to, I'll second it.
Yeah. Discussion on the bills? Vote Charles,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
and yes. Entertaining trustee reports? Charles?
Only thing I have is that, there was an issue with a broken step on the pool. That was, I found in my ears, glued to the informational channels of the Facebook.
It wasn't after the trustees jumped in.
No, that was, well, actually, it was.
Actually, was, yeah. Probably the force of the water.
There was one of the residents that had seen this, noticed a step that was, loose, and upon further inspection, it was actually not even attached. There was no bolts, there was no washers, just screws holding it in place. That was opposite of the ladder that he climbed up, so it would have been on camera. So, he tried to fix it himself, which I thank him for, but he didn't have the tools to get the lifeguards. So, I'm gonna call to the DPW, and, I went down this morning to make sure that they knew about it, and it is fixed. It's a step up. That's all I have, other than the rest that Jeff had. It was accomplished. Good job to the DPW crew.
Ron?
Yeah, I attended the virtual meeting for the pilot program that the county put on. And, walking around the village and looking at our tax record, I noticed we just have a huge amount of tax exempt properties. I mean, that coupled with other issues in the county, I would move that as a board, we do not recommend the pilot program officially. I mean, I
Would
just,
that be a letter of disapproval instead of
Yeah.
approval?
I mean, a letter of just the whole way it was presented just irks me. The last minute throwing at us, the way it was put together. I mean, it just seemed, honestly, I use the word shady because I don't like the way it was set up.
I agree with Mark.
I mean, I think our residents have enough of a tax burden with the nonprofits that we have here. They're great nonprofits. I'm glad we have them, but how much can we absorb as a community? And I just would move that we disapprove this pilot.
I second it.
Okay.
Discussion.
We have any
Something quick to
discussion about that? So this is to send a letter of disapproval.
We do not support, or non-support, we do not, whatever. We do not approve, we do not support the pilot on the Liberty Street project, however that's, Ron's said that. But we're not taking a neutral position, we're saying that we disapprove, do not support.
As a board, don't support the pilot.
Correct.
So the IDA took that pilot to the town of Owego, but not us, to be presented. Why is that?
They presented it to us orally at the last meeting, Steve Curtis presented it to us.
And nobody knew what they were
Without
talking
giving us
about.
the information.
I understand that, but they
first.
did,
And so we told them at this meeting that they could come back and present it, but they're not here. And so they're not ever asking us to actually approve this pilot.
Well, and it's still, like you said, a project we haven't even really seen.
Yeah.
The whole thing stinks to
they
me.
haven't come back and asked us again to approve it. We assume that they're going to not ask us now, they're just going to move along.
That would be my assumption.
And we're making a statement that,
I think after the public hearing, I know a bunch of us joined it, said what we thought of it, and I think they're gonna come and ask us.
How can they proceed without us approving?
They don't need our approval for anything.
Because it's already zoned
For our
properly.
taxes?
They don't need it. They don't need it. We don't get to approve. We can either support it or not support it. It's already zoned properly. The only approvals they're gonna need are building permits, planning board, zoning board. This group will not approve that project at all.
Well, I mean, we still have places we can assert our authority, whatever power that may be, but this is not one of them, unfortunately. We can definitely make a statement.
so that's the purpose of this particular motion.
And the pilots are all approved at a county level. Obviously, letters of support from us, the school district, the town, would help the IDA make that decision, but it's their decision, not ours. We just get the $5,000 worth of tax money out of it.
And after attending that meeting, I did not see any justification for a 30-year pilot.
No.
That's just ridiculous.
So will that part of that motion also be, we're voting, if we pass that motion to disapprove that thing, will it also be they wanted us to send them a letter of approval? Shall we send them a letter of disapproval? I think we should.
I would definitely send them one way or the other. You want our answer, here it is.
We've got a motion and a second.
So the pilot's, it's called Temple and Liberty LLC, is one of the companies. And then on another section, when they went to public hearing, they went by a different entity. It's the Neighborhood Housing Services, Inc.
So do we even have contact info for either one of these things?
I think a neighborhood housing is established. The other one, I think they're just creating.
They just created that for this.
Yeah,
Our letter won't go to them, it will go to the
we'll
county.
go the IDA.
And it also says if that LLC goes down, that they could just give it to a different,
Yeah, that's correct. That's
new named entity.
That's correct. That's
Yes.
part of it.
Yeah.
That's part of the
It all sounds interesting to me.
All right.
So maybe just say that it's call the pilot by its name, but then also identify that it's owned by the land bank, and that it would be
Well,
property's all owned by the land bank, correct?
well, so kind of.
secretary on their board.
The land bank has no involvement in the pilot. The land bank got the properties, was knocking down the properties and then selling the properties to Ithaca neighborhood housing. Now, what they do with it from there,
And so they're the ones that put in for the pilot then with the Ithaca.
the land bank is an untaxable agency, which they use that with the pilot to say that these properties are non-taxable currently,
I
but
saw
they've
that.
only been non-taxable for like 6 months.
So we get to say that same verbiage. We get to say that this Temple on Liberty LLC Corporation, blah, 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 their potential pilot is what, that we're not agreeing with, or to any other entity that we could say that if we want, any other entity that takes over for them, similar pilot.
Refuse to accept it.
The pilot's what's the raw deal.
We'll put that in our letter.
Well, they say in there, without the pilot, it's not financially feasible.
Yeah.
Well, it's not financially feasible to the village, so there you
I
go.
don't know how you're adding, 50 residents and giving us $5,000 to put in our budget. That doesn't help.
They're creating one $70,000 job. Boy, they're doing us a favor.
I can't buy a fire truck with that. I can't hire a police officer. I can't buy an ambulance. You know what I mean? Doesn't help.
Just the amount of times that they are gonna go over there is gonna take up that $5,000.
Like a month.
This project wouldn't be able to go through if we hadn't changed our flood protection law, the language. They wouldn't have been allowed to bring this project here. We made that decision 1 month ago, and this wouldn't be happening if we hadn't done that.
But
They still have to figure out how to fill that hole in and not affect flood problems for their neighborhoods.
That's a state law.
So also,
But that's not what we're doing right here. We're just
At
doing the
at the
pilot.
public hearing, I did ask questions and they responded to some of mine, even though they said they weren't going to. And so and later on, they sent a little bit of additional information. And so I asked why, it's a $14 million project for 3 buildings. And the building costs of the materials for these 3 buildings is $5 million. The assessed property value that at the end of the project, that the village, that it'll have, it's $500,000. That, and that's what they're breaking up these pilot amounts for a 30-year thing. And so they sent the backup, I asked how that equation works, and they sent the stuff, and it's a HUD housing Section 8 equation that says, this is how they determine the pricing for that style housing. And it didn't have anything to do with how much the building costs, how much the materials are. So another builder could come in and say, hey, I can build for $3 million. And the pilot building costs that the village would get would still be the same. It's $580,000 that the estimated property value of those 3 buildings combined.
Based off the number of
Estimated
units
assessment.
and-
Assessment.
Yeah, the value will be way higher.
Because
Can I
not
throw
based off the
something
building
in?
at all. It's based off the number of units and
Can I throw something in the middle of this, or I'll let it throw you off? Just a number in the middle. So that $580,000 assessment would have, if their numbers are right here, would have had an estimated tax of $38,000. So they're not going to even give the pilot for the $580,000 assessment. They want the pilot to be $15,000 total for all the entities. So it's 40% of that, the taxes that would have been generated from 580. So 40% of 580 is really around 240 is how much the taxes would be based on, because they don't, the pilot doesn't even want to give it to you for 580. They want to give it to you for even less than that.
Right, so this is corporate welfare for one builder.
Yeah, they
It
had
does
it
not
under
benefit
HUD.
our citizens whatsoever. We have fire, ambulance, DPW services for these buildings and in the neighborhood, and it's just not right for our citizens. So that was one thing they said. Another thing I asked was about the building of how much dirt they would need to bring in to build a building of that size in that area, and they read a section off of like current building code, which like I know down below you have to have flow through vents in your basement and flood zone, but it didn't answer bringing in dirt surrounding it. And they also mentioned that, that it wouldn't push off water on the surrounding neighborhood. However, they don't have a hydraulic study. We asked the county afterwards, and they haven't completed it, and they say that FEMA doesn't have a model currently to base the hydraulic study off of. So they cannot say that it would not flood the surrounding neighborhood when they're telling you that it's not true. Because they'll follow up later and tell you that if they don't have that information to be able to tell you that.
Just in that public meeting, we blew so many holes in what they're telling us. They're giving us fictitious numbers.
It also was very hard to get to that public meeting.
Yes, it was.
They said that they published it in the Press and Sun Bulletin like a month ahead, but it was never shared to us. And then trying to find access to it, it was just handed off vicariously through a network of people. And we weren't able to find it online through the IDA, the Land Bank, Tab Opportunities.
You pretty much have that packet.
The county didn't have it listed on their page. None of the county's offices did they have their public hearing listed for that meeting. But they publish it once in the Press and Sun Bulletin, and maybe on 2 bulletin boards in a building that nobody is like visiting during COVID.
Loopholes in the law. Yeah, we agree. They don't play well with others.
That's legal check boxes. Not saying it's the right thing to
That's
do.
the minimum.
It did give us a chuckle that the 4 people that were on that public hearing are sitting in this corner of this room.
I think there was maybe 6 on total.
Well, Leanne was one, and Ron was on, Kelsey was one, but yeah.
This was online.
Yeah, it was a Zoom call.
It was a Zoom.
Like
The only way you found it is it's in the back of that packet. Or like Laura said, it was in the Press and Sun Bulletin.
And this
Yeah.
wasn't
On a couple
even
of bulletin boards.
the back of the packet stuff that I'm holding. This was the stuff that was emailed to us, not the meeting information. So they didn't give us access to the public hearing even.
They don't want us there.
How did you do that?
We still found it.
Well, once we realized it
Couple
existed,
hours after the meeting, we got the address.
Someone
by
had
the time.
the information.
We don't want to
What's that?
We don't want to, you don't have a computer.
It was me.
It was
Rusty was on.
I was the one that got all this information, and I didn't get it on the
the
computer.
person without.
I got it because the county treasurer brought it.
Sneaky.
The library.
Anyways, we're gonna have more conversations about this project. In the spirit of Fran's 1-hour meeting, let's vote on this.
So we have a letter of
This pilot.
disapproval of the pilot.
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Ron,
yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
I have to abstain. I'm on the land bank and the records.
I mean, the secretary of the land bank too,
That's true.
right? Do you write the minutes for them?
But let's give him 50. He needs $50.
Yeah, or maybe no, one of us.
Oh,
Do you want,
I can pay $50.
because you're, that stuff, you want somebody else to, I don't want to, but somebody else to write the letter because you have that
No, I think I've read it.
action.
I just can't vote on it.
that's all.
Okay, I forgot we're on. Now we're sexual.
Thank you, Adam.
Jeez, everybody just eat up my time.
Rusty?
No report.
Laura?
I guess we've covered the pilot meeting. And there haven't been any other meetings? No, I'm all good.
I know HPC had a meeting, but it was nothing. It was just their own, like, there was no application. Fran?
Yeah, the cemetery committee, they're making progress on the tree removal. We, John Rickliff and I met with Shattuck, SHATTUCK, tree trim, yesterday, and we marked, about 30 trees.
The smiley faces.
Pardon?
The smiley
Those
faces.
are the ones with this one?
Yep,
So I don't know.
yep.
That's a lot of trees. It's more than
Anyway,
five.
we,
10 to
they
15.
gave us a tentative price, and we said, well, we can only afford to do half of those this year. Because you, we already set aside 11,000 for the trees. We, need to push that up to 12,000. There is, the funds in, the reserve there for the cemetery. And so requesting to, well, we have another company that we're also going to, go over this with on Thursday. So we're not
So we want to wait
deciding
a little
tonight,
bit.
but if we can go up to the 12,000, it would be helpful, yeah, with timber trees is who we're seeing on Thursday. But, yeah, we're hoping that, by the end of this month, we'll get that project going.
Okay.
I mean, this company has all their own equipment, the, forklift and chipper and all that stuff, so that's all included in the price. There's no excess there. That's it for tonight.
You good?
Yeah, and I remember when we started all this on the trees, we were sniffing at the real bad ones, the ones that were a big problem, and we knew that we could only do 10 or 12 or whatever the number
Yeah.
was. So that's not surprising that there are more than that need to be done, but I assume we're picking out.
Yeah, so I mean,
the bad-
we need
the
to, consider doing the rest next year.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Best year.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But right now,
Let's go.
So you set it for the 31st and the 1st. It'll be all good.
okay. Thank you.
We're moving.
Next thing is communications. I don't have many communications besides going to be a busy weekend, the convention. We are registered for the parade. Did EMS register for the parade? It was on the website. Did EMS register for the parade?
No,
Did I get the parade?
we were hoping,
It's Saturday, 5:00.
well, we were hoping to have another ambulance there, to deal with
Yeah.
that. But I'm not registering us because right at this point in time, it seems like every time we're getting double banked. And I don't wanna have to pull out of an event, do that. And we may necessarily put the fly car in or something like that, but we cannot put it, I don't feel safe doing that because we've been getting hammered.
Maybe the flag cars,
Yeah. But,
just something.
So the convention parade is a huge event.
Yeah.
All the fire trucks from all over are gonna come in, and the parade could be like an hour long or something about the size of the Strawberry Fest, but they're all on trucks, and they have how many bands though? They're bringing in all the Piper bands. So it's like, it's not a small parade, that they're talking
both
about,
of
it's a big, long thing.
That sounds like fun.
registered with a fly car.
Do we have to walk?
Well, no, so that was my next question. Who of us wants to be in it? I registered the board. I gotta figure out what to get from DPW.
You're already.
We got a Kubota.
And that'll fit, what, 12 clowns, how many can you stuff on a
Yeah.
promotion?
One in each wheel well.
Yeah.
So who's gonna be in the parade? Saturday, 5 o'clock. Frank? Charles? Two?
I'll be
I close
directing,
at 4.
I'll be directing traffic. I
You're
don't
gonna
know.
watch your mom now.
I throw candy at you or something when I go by.
So we've got Ron, Brian, Charles.
Do you have any idea where we're lining up?
So, yeah, usual suspects. I will get with Jeff and figure out what we can get.
Central, Fox on the other side where we usually end up, like, other side.
Yeah, I don't know where we line up for any of that stuff.
It's gonna be the other side, all the other parades generally line up over there by Page and Spencer and Chestnut. These are, I believe it's gonna line up on Temple, Central, Fox. I think it's gonna line up on that
Why don't these
side.
parades block
Go
my
down
house?
North Avenue.
This will be the other side.
Other side of North Avenue is what I believe.
It's not in front of your house.
No, not front of us. Come on.
We did issue a parade permit, so we can find that.
Oh, yeah, it's
Find
out there.
all that
We know the right
information
people.
on there.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. we did.
Yeah, we might need a flat tire group, but we'll put the motor in.
As long as it says a we
It
go.
does, but.
Chief Morris, I have a random question. It is Italian theme at your dinner. Is there anything for any kind of specialty diet option for like maybe gluten-free? You're the damn chief. I need to know this stuff.
He's not the chair, talk to Bidwell or Gavin.
I was just curious. My wife is, and she'd really like to go. She goes, I'm not going to go spend $25 for something I can't eat. And I just thought I'd throw it out there.
It's a day.
I'll get you an email.
Thank you, Jim.
Pasta.
I just saw Pat today. Someone that drove
It's funny. My wife's Italian, but she can't eat spaghetti.
the
anymore.
last night.
You saw him today for 4 hours trying to put a banner up on the fire station because I was doing it.
Is there any update
Or
on
was it
the
breaded?
Be all right. Yeah.
She's just difficult.
So the next thing is mayor's report.
Okay, Mayor.
We had, I did at the budget meeting, but not a lot of people were there. We had a DRI meeting with Hunt and Brittany from the county and Nate and Julie Sweet from the state to go over the contract, legal contract between us and Hunt. They were going to tweak it per Nate's suggestions. I know Ron had asked one question of whether the amount for the art park took into consideration the Design Connect team, and the answer was yes, it did. So anyway, they were going to tweak it and get it back to us, hopefully for our second July meeting. Well, they're going to get it back to us like this week or next week, so that we can look at it before the second July meeting. So we can keep that process moving. Then they'll probably join us in our second July meeting.
So we anticipate that coming up at the next meeting for approval.
Right.
Did we get any more info on the Design Connect, where that dropped off or didn't drop off? I mean,
No.
it just kind of disappeared.
Didn't.
Okay.
I'll check with Abby.
So I had this one, but like,
Other than that, mayor's report, I did the public hearing, IDA thing. Passed the budget, just over 1%, so that was a good deal. That's it. Last thing, public comment.
Oh, what about the
Tax
Minor
warrant.
Oh, wait, tax warrant.
We're gonna take a five-minute
Want to do public comment first? All right, we'll do public comment.
is it,
That way
is
they
it,
don't have to hang
do
out
we
for
have to
5
do that
minutes.
tonight? Is that?
break.
Yeah, we're gonna file.
Okay.
We have to start.
Public.
We have to talk to Rodney.
Yes.
Filibuster.
The only public comment that I would make is that this project on Liberty is made much easier by the dilution of the flood code. And so if compensatory storage were to go back into the floodplain guidelines, then they would have to have a plan, because they're gonna have to add many, many cubic feet of fill And there is a really real issue about adding that material and not compensating for it. So if the guidelines were restored and this project were to go forward, we would at least have assurance that you're not flooding the neighbors. And you would make another hurdle for this project to clear. And what I don't understand, and I don't know enough about it, is why they could say you can't do a survey if that's what they were saying, because the hydraulic survey for the elementary school showed that without compensatory storage, they would have flooded the high school, which is what the guy said who came to this meeting. So I would hope that somebody on the board could reach out to Rick or reach out to somebody who knows to at least get an assessment of what can and cannot be done and should be done in terms of making sure that you don't displace enhanced flood risk onto the neighbors.
On a related item, when I just thought about this sitting here, they're gonna have to go through a site plan review with the planning board, which is gonna be complicated. But I think the planning board, as part of their process, could say, you have to do compensatory replacement. And as part of the site plan review, I'm not sure if that's legally or whatever else accurate, but it seems to be, it could be.
I think they're gonna have to show the planning board a hydraulic survey.
Yeah.
And we have to make sure that a floodplain development permit is issued, because there have been other projects where there wasn't issued, notably Weissman, which is still an unresolved NFIP compliance issue. So I know there's a lot of flux around here, but if there was floodplain development permit, really has to be issued.
Any other public comment?
Thank you, Billy.
One thing I want to say is Jeff and Mike have been helping a lot about the project in Cameron that the Rotary's doing, and Ken Wolf has been doing a really good job down there of taking care of the lawns and the berms and stuff like that. I'm going to talk to Fran about getting some of the wood chips from the
Sure.
there.
Oh, yeah, what we plan.
Yeah, good. We need a lot. So I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Do we adjourn or do we just
No,
wait for
we're
us?
just gonna wait.
Just take a five.
Taking an intermission. I'm gonna mute the live stream.
Can you
We'll
turn
be back.
Can you turn that